implementation of the Representation of People Amendment Act, ROPAA, will only increase the cost of elections for the Electoral Commission and political parties. This is the view of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Former Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwakye-Ofosu tells JoyNews that even though the initiative is a good one, the ruling by the Justice of the High Court yesterday was a good one, there are some challenges which it is bound to face.
If you read the ruling, the High Court put in a caveat that if for any reason the Electoral Commission is unable to implement the order, they should indicate 30 days to its expiration, why there is just cause for the order not to be carried out. That is an acknowledgement that there are very practical impediments that may hamper the successful implementation of the court order. Actually, there has been no debate about the position of the law since it was passed sometime in 2006, except that those practical impediments, which the High Court certainly would have factored into putting in that caveat, have stood in the way of the process. Now, when you say that Ghanaians living in every country on earth should be able to take part in a voting exercise without having to travel to Ghana, it means that from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe, the Electoral Commission has to go around to identify Ghanaians, register them, and give them the opportunity to vote. It is not a minor undertaking. It is a major undertaking, which requires a lot of resources and a lot of work. You know, it was for very good reason that for 10 years or so, the law had not been implemented. As we speak now, I'm not sure. Perhaps the Electoral Commission or government will be in a position to explain whether we are in a much better position to implement it than we were the previous times that we were not implementing it, and what the evidence is to show that indeed we have the resources, the human resources, the logistical, resources to be able to carry it out. Again, it is a multi-stakeholder process. Right from the issuance of national identification cards, there is a need for all stakeholders to be involved. Ordinarily, the process of issuing national ID cards wouldn't have been such a big deal. It was a straightforward exercise. But it will have implication for the compilation of any future register, because people with national ID cards will be able to use it as a means of identification to get their names on the register. Now, because of the potential for exploitation by the incumbent party, that is the government.
Exploitation how?
What you mean is that it is possible, because government controls the NIA, to get them to issue cards to people who they believe are their supporters, to the disadvantage of people who they believe are their opponents and are likely to vote against them. In order to...
That's a serious allegation.
Yeah, no, it's a practical allegation. I'm not suggesting that that is what is going to happen, but the room for exploitation exists. And in order to engender trust and confidence in the process, it is important to get everybody's buy-in, so that when a register is eventually compiled for the purposes of ROPAA, there will be no dispute or no doubts lingering in anybody's minds that there has been some gerrymandering or some efforts to boost the chances of the ruling party as against the chances of the opposition parties. So for that reason, right from the process of registering Ghanaians everywhere in this world, political parties and other stakeholders in our democracy must participate in the process, so that when cards are issued, we are all confident that nobody has been deliberately disadvantaged or prevented from obtaining a register.
Before we go into the details of that, let me ask about the issue of resources. Justice Anthony Yeboah, in delivering his judgment yesterday, mentioned that the Electoral Commission has not made a specific request to government, in their budget for implementation of ROPAA. So it will be difficult to say they will face any challenges in getting resources.
You see, that may be true, but it is trite knowledge that we are severely constrained as a country. I mean, look at government's own flagship programs, free SHS, and look at the liquidity challenges they are facing. They are unable to release the second tranche of 80% fees that need to go to the schools for the running. They are unable to do that. It is obviously because they are constrained financially. Otherwise, what other justification could exist for not releasing money that is needed to run schools?
The education authorities did mention, just on an aside, that they have not released, the headmasters have not submitted their returns, which would release the second tranche of funds. But it can be a back and forth. Let's take to that.
That is only a euphemism for saying that no money exists. Really, if government was serious about the program, they would take steps to ensure that they get the returns in good time so that they can send the money. Schools are supposed to go on vacation in a matter of days, and the monies have not gone. The only reason why that would happen is that the money simply does not exist. Now, we are constrained on many fronts. If you go to health, if you go to water provision, electricity provision, we have challenges there. We are a developing country that does not have all the resources that it needs. So definitely, we will be constrained in terms of the resources we need to finance ROPAA, even the elections that we hold internally. It is not every item that the Electoral Commission presents for funding that it gets funding for, even in internal elections. So you can only imagine the situation where we have to go to about 200 countries to identify Ghanaians, from Azerbaijan to Afghanistan to Turkmenistan to every other country, in order to register Ghanaians.
We can go step by step. Let's go on the phone lines now and speak with the General Secretary of the Progressive People's Party, Murtala Mohammed, to find out also what he thinks about the implementation of ROPAA. Thank you very much for your time, sir. What's the position of the PPP as regards yesterday's ruling by Justice Anthony Abbo of the Accra High Court?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, we in the PPP think it's a welcome news. In fact, it is long overdue. We have been championing this since 2012. Remember our 10-point agenda. The 9th point, we have said we want to empower the diaspora. We want to give them the opportunity to vote and serve in public service. We want to establish a secretariat to cater for the needs of Ghanaians abroad. We want to provide a support system to encourage investment, safe and healthy vacations, and transfer of knowledge and technology. You know, so it's a welcome news, and we think it's long overdue. So we are happy about the judgment.
So the challenges that may be developed, according to mainly members of the NDC, you think that we should overlook those challenges and implement the program anyway?
Sometimes I don't know where they are coming from. It's the same mindset when we started this national health insurance. It's the same mindset. It cannot be done. There are challenges. At a point, they came to say they were going to accept only one-time premium. It's the same mindset with the free education. There are challenges, but you overlook the challenges first. So it's a good thing. What are the challenges? Let them mention it so that we address it one after the other. What are the challenges?
Mr. Mohammed, I have on the line, on Skype, joining us from the UK, the chairman of the Milton Keynes branch of the NDC, Collins Dumba. So let's ask him what challenges he feels the implementation of this program may face, so we address them going forward. Mr. Dumba, welcome. Before you go into the challenges that you think that the implementation of ROPAA would face, good idea or not?
Good morning. Thank you, Daniel. I hope you can hear me well.
We can hear you well.
Good. So ROPAA as a concept, nobody will disagree with it if the intent is to enfranchise people who are supposedly disenfranchised at the moment, which I disagree that anyone is. So the spirit of ROPAA, no one disagrees with. I guess the key challenges we need to be confronting ourselves with would be, one, the logistic challenges, and more importantly, the financial challenges. I mean, from the school of common sense perspective, does it really make sense to spend vast sums, and this will run into millions of dollars, to arrange for diasporans, of which I'm one, to be able to cast their votes, when such money could be used better in Ghana? Such money could be used to pushing the hard landing of the free HSS concept. It could be used to better our health systems. And the reality is that most of us in the diaspora come vote. We are not disenfranchised in any way. It's just coming once every 4 years. Now, I think it's not the best funds, one, to take that money that to solve thousands of problems, bring it to the several countries outside the shores of Ghana and arrange it. I think it's too expensive. We don't even know how much it costs. The logistics is a nightmare. And more importantly, I just want to highlight that this ruling was to the EC and not to any political party. The reality of the situation is the EC in a position to be able to implement it, given the level of, if you like, the challenges that are being the EC and her team are being subjected to. Are they in a position to be able to implement this? Is the government in the position to be able to financially support this?
Collins,
It's all simply asking to hasten portion. Don't just go off, make decisions, and then throw the entire electoral process into the should be. Turn
right.
down to fingers at the electoral commission failing.
Right. Collins, understood. But this is the case where the Electoral Commission has been expected to implement this for 11 years. Do you not think that by now they should at least be making the attempt to prepare themselves? I mean, if we're going to wait for them to be ready, how long should we wait?
Yes, you are right. Yes, so it was obviously passed 10, 11 years ago. But it's a good reason why the government that passed at the time did not try and push it through. They were very clear in their minds that it was an exercise in futility, if you like. Now, how many countries do this? How many countries at the level of Ghana's development deem this a priority? Of the 101,000 problems Ghana has, this is the least of them. And in my view, this is just some of us in the diaspora being that selfish enough to want the state to spend scarce resources to enable us cast a vote, when we could simply, in the spirit of patriotism, fly ourselves down to Ghana and do that. Daniel, there are people in Ghana, in Accra, who have to travel all the way to Kukrantumi and other areas to be able to cast their votes. Should we therefore say the Electoral Commission should pull their polling stations back to where they vote? There will be certain challenges. We need to least best.
Right.
Let's take one.
Right. Conrad, we're finding it a bit difficult to hear you. Let me go to back to Murtala Mohammed whilst we correct your audio. Murtala, if you heard, I don't know if you heard Conrad's submission, but his submission is bordering basically on the readiness of the Electoral Commission to logistically and resource-wise to carry out this implementation.
So clearly, there was not a single challenge he mentioned. That's what I wanted to take note, for you to take note. There's not a single challenge. What he has said is not for you and I to answer. It is for the EC to answer. And beside that, the ruling does not mean they should ensure that every Ghanaian everywhere vote. If they cannot ascertain the number of people or the genuineness of the Ghanaians out there, they have every right to say, look, in Cambodia, because we are not sure, we are not going to allow the people there to vote. You understand it? But in areas where they can ascertain the number of Ghanaians out there, they should allow them to vote. After all, it is step by step. You cannot.
But Mr. Mohammed, isn't that a challenge in its own to say that the EC may not be able to identify the number of Ghanaians in a country? Or the EC may not have the resources?
Look, first of all, the EC must present a budget to the government. And the government must ensure that it supports that budget to do what they can do. And you should know that there will be process and modality that the EC will bring out for everybody to discuss at IFAG level and what have you. We all understand and agree on a particular process. And we get it done. We can't wait for 20 more years before we implement ROPAA. People in Senegal are voting. Listen to all the critics. They will tell you they are in principle, that they support the thing in principle. So if you support it, if you support something that is progressive, why are you trying to use difficulties and challenges to stop, to impede you from making that progress?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. I can tell you all the time, push them to give you one single challenge. There isn't.
Well, it can be argued in fairness. If you say that they may not have the resources, that is a challenge. If you say that the EC cannot,
the government, is it easy? That's our question. You need to ask it. Let them submit the budget first. Let's see if the government can finance it or not. Why are we preempting the situation?
Right.
Look, it is a progressive move. Let's all support it.
Mr. Mohammed, let me go to the other line. Unfortunately, we've lost Conrad Dumba from NDC UK, but we have on the line the communications director of NPP USA, Kofi Tonto, who is also joining us via Skype. Kofi, of course, looking at the position of your party with this issue, you must be very excited with this ruling by the High Court.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you.
I'm excited as a Ghanaian. I'm not excited as an MPP person. Just to be specific to your question, I think the Constitution is very clear on who is a Ghanaian, and ROPAA has also passed and has given right to all Ghanaians abroad to vote. That's what makes me happy. I really want to put aside the political or partisan aspect of it and focus on the fact that Ghanaians abroad have a right to vote. Yeah.
Now, but here's the case where, again, this is a point raised by Mr. Felix Kwachio-Fosu. Conrad Dumba also raised it earlier, that if you are going to, even if you are going to implement this in a stepwise manner, you are disenfranchising someone else, so that if I only come to the USA and register Ghanaians there to vote, I do not go to the UK or Italy to register Ghanaians there to vote, I am being unfair to Ghanaians in the Italy or in the UK, and so I could be dragged to court by any of these people.
But David, why would anyone assume that the EC will only go to the US and not go to London or go to any other place? Why should anyone assume that? You see, my challenge with this whole issue is, ever since it came up, and including the EC, we've spoken very little about implementation and solutions, and we've spent so much time on challenges. I mean, I don't know when Ghanaians became that pessimistic to the point that anytime we have to do something, the first attempt is to look at challenges. We barely look at solutions. Obviously, no one has said there aren't going to be challenges. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. But that is not to say that we don't have competent people in Ghana who can execute. And that's exactly what the court said. The EC went to court and said, outlined all the challenges possible, saying that these are the reasons why we can't do it. And the court said, you know what? It's not about outlining the challenges. It's about following the law. A law has been passed almost 12 years ago. Your job as an electoral commission is to put together a constitutional instrument and bring it to Parliament. If there are any challenges, Parliament and other persons responsible will help you get through it. So the court tells the EC, go and put the necessary steps together. And if there are any challenges, let us know the challenges. We will assess the challenges. And if we do not have the solutions for it, that is when we can consider perhaps extending implementation time. So I think we should focus less on,
Right, from this, because this caveat that was placed in the ruling is one of the justifications that has been raised by Felix Kwachio-Fosu, for instance, that the court itself is acknowledging that, look, the EC may not be able to realistically carry this out. Would you be satisfied if by the end of next year, by November next year, the EC came and brought reasons why they've not been able to carry out any implementation plans, and you may not be able to vote from the USA in 2020?
Well, the EC would have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. First of all, there's a reason why we call it competent jurisdiction. The court has competent people. The court has done extensive research, okay? Extensive research on the viability of a program like ROPAA. So the EC cannot just wake up and come up with a flimsy document and say we can't implement it. The court is going to look at it critically and, if possible, get experts to look at it to really justify the reason why the EC can't do it. So it's not an issue of the court believes the EC cannot do it. That's why it has given it that caveat. What the court is saying is that go ahead and implement the law. If there are any challenges, we will make the assessment to see if those challenges are viable. It's as simple as that. I mean, so...
But it still goes back to the point that after an assessment by a court or whatever, the EC can't come out and justifiably say, I was faced by these challenges, I was unable to implement the law.
But the EC has already done that. And the court has told the EC, no, it's not justified.
Right.
Let's understand that. The EC has already, stated in court on multiple occasions why they cannot do it. They've stated financial issues. They've stated logistical challenges. They've stated all the challenges that NDC is enumerating right now. And the court is saying that these challenges are not justifiable.
Okay.
So go back and work on the document. See, this is an issue of law. And in any other jurisdiction, the EC could have been placed under contempt, because for 12 years, you have been running from your duty. And that's what the court is trying to do, is saying, go and do your work. If there are any challenges, that is professionally verified to be legitimate challenges.
Okay.
We will put in place the necessary steps to help you implement it. So there is no room to say don't implement it. The courts and Ghanaians are not going to accept the option. It
will be presumptuous. This will be your final comments. Thank you. But it will be presumptuous for you to say that the courts will not accept any reason that the Electoral Commission will bring, because the court itself has allowed for the Electoral Commission to come to and explain why they have been unable to do that.
No. See, let's separate the issues. A law has been passed for Ghanaians abroad to vote. That's number one. The court will not accept anything that disenfranchises Ghanaians abroad, okay? The court will, however, review any documents you present to see if there are any justifiable challenges and give you enough time to solve for it. But the court will never say that Ghanaians abroad cannot vote. That is the point I am making. But before I leave, it's important that we look at the population of Ghanaians abroad. What is the size we are talking about? Let's take, currently I'm speaking to you from Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Fitchburg, Massachusetts is just about 25 minutes from Worcester, Massachusetts. Worcester, Massachusetts alone, Worcester County, the city of Worcester and all the surrounding cities and towns have over 30,000 Ghanaians. That's Massachusetts alone.
Okay.
Just about 30 minutes from Worcester, we have Rhode Island. It's another state. The capital of Rhode Island is Providence. It have about 5,000 Ghanaians. Just about 45 minutes, we have Hartford, Connecticut, and Manchester. It has close to 10,000 Ghanaians. Just about 2 hours from Massachusetts, we have New York City, which has over 70,000 Ghanaians. New Jersey, close to 50,000 Ghanaians. Go ahead.
Kofi, I think the point is made. I mean, looking at the population in New York alone, that's larger than a lot of constituencies here in Ghana, and that could push the needle here in Ghana. But thank you. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us. Kofi Tonto is Communications Director for the NPP in the USA. Earlier, we had the Chairman of Milton Keynes branch of the NDC in UK. But we still have with us on the line Murtala Mohammed, who is the General Secretary of the PPP. Mr. Mohammed, finally, before you go, I want to know, how will this change for you the electoral process as a politician? You're a stakeholder in the elections. Does it make it more expensive for you, for instance, that you have to go and campaign overseas?
Yeah, all things being equal, it adds some cost. But see, it is worth it. Yeah, I want to make some points before I conclude. There's no challenge that can deny our brothers in abroad the right to vote. There is no challenge that cannot be surmounted regarding ROPAA. We have to be optimistic. The only problem we have in this country is suspicion. The NDC is suspicious of the NPP and vice versa. So that is the problem. It is not about difficulty and challenges that we confront. Even our general election, there are challenges, they are difficult, but we always go for the election. You understand me? So it is up to the EC to put modalities together, or processes together that will not make the suspicion rise. That will make the process so transparent, so that we can achieve this progress. Because nobody can argue this out in principle. We all accept that there's the need for us to give our brothers outside the opportunity to go. So it is a suspicion that the EC must work in such that, in manner that will not make the suspicion rise, so that we can all achieve this progress.
Okay. Thank you very much, Murtala Mohammed, for joining us, the General Secretary for the Progressive People's Party, PPP.